everyone. Welcome back to Someday I'll Have a Podcast. I almost just forgot the name there. Things have been weird, y'all. Things have been really weird all across the board. First things first, if you're new to the podcast, hi, welcome. This is just a place where I talk into a microphone. It's literally all it is because guess what? I'm just a person just like you. The things I express in this podcast are fully, completely my own thoughts and opinions and ponderings and wonderings, etc., etc. And it's not overly produced. It is not even barely edited. It is really just a stream of consciousness type of place where we can, well, mostly me, come in and chat about literally anything and everything because niches are hard. And that's also something that I feel like that is something that has pushed me to start recording this podcast today, like this specific episode, because life has been weird. Things have been hard in like the creator verse. In the age of social media platforms and all these other things. But let's back up a little bit more. I feel like I didn't even introduce the podcast very well because, again, can I even focus on anything? I don't know. My name is Ren. I am always your host of this podcast. And I want to welcome you. But if you've been listening to any of the other episodes previously, you've heard me say, I've been having trouble with my voice lately, and I keep losing my voice, and all these other weird things about my voice. And guess what? I finally went to the freaking doctor. Turns out there is a cyst on my vocal fold. And these are the reasons I've been having trouble speaking and using my voice. And truthfully, it is so frustrating. It is really, really frustrating, and it's been something hard for me to deal with because at first I thought it was no big deal and that I was just going to too many concerts. And then when I slowed that down, I was even losing my voice at the end of a 12-hour shift, which of course it's a 12-hour shift, and I talk essentially the entire time. It comes with the name of the game of being a bartender. You talk all day long, you entertain your guests, whatever. But yeah, I've just been struggling a lot with using my voice, and I feel like it goes so much deeper than that. It is such like a metaphorical, like a fear of mine is not being heard. I feel like I've always like had that be a thing. I'm not going to say I've necessarily struggled with that, but I definitely have always had like this fear of not being heard, not being seen in some capacity. And I don't exactly know where that comes from. It was never, I don't know. I don't think I have a reason for why I felt that way. But I think it's just the idea of like, I have a lot to say and I want to share it. And that even goes into why I have the podcast in the first place. It's just that I have a lot to say, I feel like, to share with the world, and I don't have anything that gives me credibility necessarily besides the fact that I am just an honest human. But anyway, there have been plenty of times that I have like engaged with political activism in the sense of like going to protests and speaking out about things that are wrong, social injustices. And I feel like it's more of like that is where it stems from, of like we need to work together to be heard, because like being a woman, I don't know, I feel like that's just where that comes from a little bit, is that like seeing that there needs to be change and the fear of not being able to change it or be a part of the solution. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the physical voice issues that I'm having, but I have a cyst on my vocal fold and I am trying to get speech therapy for it. But you know, with insurance and doctors and everything else, they make it, not to say they intentionally make it difficult, but regardless, it is difficult. The different therapists that I was referred to, I didn't get an official written referral, so I wasn't able to get into them. The next person, they can't fit me in until December. Who knows when you'll be hearing this podcast episode, but it's a struggle to get into vocal therapy, which is literally what I need to do unless I want to do surgery, which again is just scary. I've never had surgery. I just finally had stitches for the first time, like this time last year. It's scary. It's hard. I don't want to do any of this. Like, it's frustrating. But that's not even why I'm coming in here to talk today. I literally just rambled about that for so long. The reason I really picked up this microphone today is because I'm struggling in a different area. I've been talking and connecting with a lot of creators lately, and it just seems like we're all at this standstill. And then it reminded me, though, of like why we're even creating in the first place. What is even the point of this? Like, I started making videos and making the podcast and speaking out on social media for the sake of doing it, for the sake of creating, right? But now it seems like we're all in this fight, this battle to have our content be seen, be heard, etc. And really it all connects, right? Full circle, everything I'm saying right now. Because so many people on these platforms are feeling that they're such at a standstill, that they're not being seen, they're not being heard, their content isn't getting engagement, whatever. And so I feel like it's just reminding me to focus on the reason, to create, just to put art in the world, just to share my adventures. Like, that was the beginning of it anyway. Like, sure, everyone wants their art to be seen, 100%. But I think in this moment, it's just like a little reminder of like why I started. And I think everyone needs to go inward on that a little bit. I feel like we are so often searching for external validation by views and clicks and hearts and whatever it may look like. Because really, there are so many people feeling at a standstill. I've been feeling at a standstill. In the podcast for sure, but that can just be a lack of consistency. I can own up to that. I can hold myself accountable. But is it just that I'm not saying things that people want to hear? Is it that I'm not targeting my audience correctly? Like, there's a lot to be learned too. Like, I don't think that we can always just blame the algorithm. Well, at the same time, these very large creators are sharing their inability to grow, it seems, on Instagram and platforms like that. But we have to also understand that the world is freaking changing. These giant billionaires, they're buying these companies, resetting them, changing the algorithms, hiring new people. So many factors go into these things. So things are changing. How do we change with the times? Is it a matter of changing with the times? Is it just going back to the heart of it, creating to create? Creating just for the sake of art, for the sake of existence, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of understanding who we are, for a creative outlet? Does it really matter how many listens I get on this podcast? But then also, how do you move past that discouragement if you don't see major success in certain things like that? Needless to say, I want this to be a conversation, as always. But if you're new to the podcast, how are you supposed to know that? So yeah, let's connect. And let's dive into that a little more. You can always connect with me on Instagram, on the Live in the Heart with Elle Crew Instagram account. That is always in the description, the show notes. Let's build each other up. And I think that also goes back to the basics. Let's go back to the basics. True human connection. And in this day and age, yes, they make it very easy to not have to do that in person. I recently went to a dance battle. Showing up and supporting my friends in this dance battle, I felt like I was able to connect with so many talented dancers. And then it reminded me of some other connections that I used to have, and then reaching out to those people. Even if it isn't necessarily in person, going to the dance battle allowed me, encouraged me. I feel like it pushed me to talk to people. Seriously, like it's not always about our own little circles. Branch out, make those connections. I feel like I met people from all over the states, at least, just who love to dance. But coming back into it, into the basics, connecting with people, sharing art. Dance is such a beautiful art, so to be able to be surrounded by so many talented, passionate, forget the talent, passionate dancers, people who love it just for the sake of doing it, just for the sake of creation, just for the sake of the art. That was cool. And then to be able to connect with them and hopefully in the future increase those connections cultivate those connections, build those connections. So circling back to the more digital version of it, it kind of also blows my mind because with the rise of TikTok, the rise of Instagram, the fact that the pandemic, but even beforehand, even before then, and now after then, the addiction to our phones and to social media, why is it that people are having trouble having their creations be seen? Isn't that kind of wild? What is going on with that? Should I jump into a conspiracy theory? Because I feel like I totally could. Just kidding. I don't have any conspiracies about it. But connecting genuinely with people on the internet, like, sure, I can like 500 people's photos and videos on Instagram, but like going the extra mile, dropping a comment, hey, I really liked how you edited this, reaching out to them via direct message. Yo, this was really cool how you did that. I would love to learn more. I can't wait to see more. Let's connect. How did you do X, Y, and Z? Ask that question. Instead of just admiring from the sidelines. No matter what that looks like, whether you're a creator trying to grow in the digital space, or a dancer, or an artist, or literally just a person wanting to learn more, wanting to connect with people, but genuinely starting that conversation, asking that question to learn from these people surrounding you. There is talent, art, connection literally everywhere surrounding you, even with these beautiful little plants right in front of me. There's connection to be made with the world around us. And I think that if you can start there at the basis of humanity and bring that into your creation. I feel like I'm learning so much just by talking it out with myself and with you because you clicked on this video, this podcast. That's something that I need to enact too. The genuineness, the authenticity, the genuineness of connection and how that can, and not even for greed, but for learning, but for advancing one another. Not only for oneself and how my content can grow and how I can learn, but a reciprocal relationship, a symbiotic one. How can we learn from each other? And again, if we break it down, that is how we have everything today, right? It's from collaboration. Sure, geniuses happened here and there, and singular people have been able to create certain things and let them grow on their own. But collaboration is truly how we have the buildings we see in front of us, the roads, the trails that we like to hike on, the social media platforms that we like to scroll on mindlessly. All of these things were born from collaboration. Yeah, that's really freaking cool. So how can we learn from each other? How can we grow together? It isn't just about, I made this Instagram post, I want you to see it. Let's learn from each other. I really admire so many people that I see online and in person doing these freaking awesome things. And I'm excited to go out tonight and just connect with my friends. I cannot wait to hear what they're up to, how they're doing, and see what I can learn from them. And offer what I have to offer to them. Maybe this podcast episode is it. Maybe we go to the root of it. I don't know. It's been a struggle in the digital space, and it's intriguing to see that I'm not the only one. But then it's like, so what's the next step? Then we have to find that solution together. I think it starts with connection. And I think that goes so far beyond just solutions for very minute things like this. I think that we need to work together to find the solutions for all of the world's problems. Kind of like I said when I was starting this podcast episode, when I was talking about like being part of the solution for injustices of the world. Working together, man. Or even like solutions for such basic things. I'm hungry, let's cook a meal together. There's her solution. But really it does seem to lie in collaboration. So maybe when I hang up here, maybe I'll just go try and connect with some creators that I really enjoy online. Because that's the first step, right? Feels like it might be. If you have any other ideas to offer me, please. I'll have it as the little poll, as the little question at the end of this podcast, especially if you're listening on Spotify. That'll be cool for us to connect there. Also, again, always on my Instagram. Let us connect there. Whatever ideas you have, let's freaking connect with each other. Man, let's collaborate. There's so many, there's so much to see, so much to do, so much to learn and be learnt, to teach. All of the freaking above. That is so cool. And see, it just reminds me that I love human connection. So anyway, after all this rambling, I want to say thank you for listening. And this brings us to my favorite part of the episode. I feel like I really got something out of this. I hope you did too. It's really basic. It's really simple. It truly is. Anyway, I'm going to give you a song recommendation based on the playlist that Spotify makes for me. It is called On Repeat, and it shows me the songs that I have been playing on repeat. I feel like I already know what it's going to be, and I'll say yes or no if it's true. No, I was wrong. That's funny. So the song that is on repeat for me is called Bored by Ingy. My friend Morgan sent this to me recently, and it's such a jam. It's literally like talking about how could you be bored in this world, because there's so much to see and so much to do and people to connect with and blah, blah, blah. So listen to it. It's called Bored. It will always be linked in the description of the video. Oh my gosh, I keep calling this a video. The link for my song recommendation will always be linked in the description of the podcast and the show notes as well. So always go and check that out. This is kind of like a sassy girl jam about being bored. How can you possibly be bored? Why are you so bored? Awesome. So there's that. Thank you for tuning in as always. I really appreciate it. Your listenership means the world to me, truly, especially in this time of feeling like it's impossible to grow digitally. So again, let's connect. You are greatly appreciated. Whatever your someday is, whatever you want to do someday, make that day today, just like I did with this podcast. Thank you for tuning in.